Welcome back. This is eNCA Now. The inquiry into top prosecutors Nomgcobo Jiba and Lawrence Mrwebi heard the testimony today of the Deputy National Director of Public Prosecutions, Willie Hofmeyr. eNCA's Govan Whittles has been tracking the story and joins me now from our newsroom. Willie Hofmeyr is, in a manner of speaking, part of the furniture there at the NPA, Govan Whittles. I imagine that his testimony has been wide-ranging, but also deeply rooted, at least in the recent history of the NPA.
It certainly has. Willie Hofmeyr went back all the way to the start of the NPA. In fact, he was part of the council that drafted the NPA Act in the Constitution. He's been in the NPA for over 17 years. This is certainly someone who was there from the beginning and was present when he says everything went wrong. And today we heard testimony from him, his evidence which was led by Advocate Nazreen Bawa, going through what he believes was the NPA going downhill under the leadership of Nomgcobo Jiba and Lawrence Mrwebi. And Willie Hofmeyr says that all of this started with the prosecution of former police commissioner Jackie Selebi. If you remember that Gerrie Nel was the one that successfully prosecuted Jackie Selebi on those charges of corruption. But during the time when Gerrie Nel was prosecuting Selebi, Gerrie Nel was in fact arrested, and he was arrested related to how he handled one of the witnesses. But today, Willie Hofmeyr said that he believed Nomgcobo Jiba was behind that arrest and had some role in it. And apparently she was not happy because Gerrie Nel had also successfully prosecuted Nomgcobo Jiba's husband on a charge of fraud relating to his trust account. But all of this was ventilated in his evidence, which was led by Nazreen Bawa. Let's have a look at what Willie Hofmeyr said.
Now, the arrest of Gerrie Nel related to specific charges which you deal with in paragraph 417, and specifically tell us what that related to and how is that germane to this inquiry.
I think it initially arises, the issues arise partly out of the investigation into Cornwall Chavunga, who was a senior Scorpions prosecutor at the time. And there are a couple of angles. In the course of the judgment, the judge or the magistrate had criticized Nel for not having exercised sufficient control and managed him sufficiently. And it seems that this was then used as a way of launching a sort of police investigation into Nel. I think the other angle that happens at the time is that Advocate Jiba's husband is convicted of fraud on his trust account, and that seems to have, and let me say, I didn't really know her much at that time. I sort of got to know her better when she was the Deputy National. But it seems that she had a bit of a grudge against Nel at that time because of that.
And the accusations and allegations kept coming in thick and fast, Govan, including an allegation by Willie Hofmeyr that Nomgcobo Jiba manipulated certain investigations and prosecutions to do favors for certain politicians.
That's right. He basically said that it was being done to please certain politicians, and because of this, the NPA ended up in a disaster. But he wasn't very vague. He was quite specific when it came to the allegations against Nomgcobo Jiba, saying that she had started a culture of high-profile cases being derailed through the prosecution of law enforcement officials or other prosecutors. And the cases that he brought up was the charges that were brought against former finance minister, public enterprise Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan. He also mentioned the charges against former Hawks head Anwar Dramat and the IPID head Robert McBride and Shadrach Sabia as well, coming up as some of the cases which Willie Hofmeyr believes were only smokescreens intended to destabilize other investigations. And these investigations, of course, include the Richard Mdluli matter, as well as the Bosasa matter, which Willie Hofmeyr said may also have been derailed as a result of Jiba's actions. And then he said that this culture was in fact institutionalized under Sean Abrams' leadership of the National Prosecuting Authority. In fact, a lot of Willie Hofmeyr's affidavit made some allegations against Sean Abrams. Because of this, the inquiry has now written to Sean Abrams, requesting him to come forward and respond to these allegations, give his side of the story. But all in all, I think it was another devastating blow that was dealt to Nomgcobo Jiba's and Lawrence Mrwebi's bid to keep their jobs and be declared fit for office.
But counsel for Jiba, if I understand correctly, Norman Arendse wants to cross-examine Willie Hofmeyr.
He does indeed, and he didn't even finish with the cross-examination. Much of the cross-examination today focused on Norman Arendse asking Willie Hofmeyr how could he know that Nomgcobo Jiba had a grudge against Gerinel. Everything that he says Willie Hofmeyr was saying was based on hearsay and shouldn't be admissible. But because this is not a court of law, this is just an inquiry, it was allowed by Justice Yvonne Mokhora. So Willie Hofmeyr still has a lot to answer to, and Norman Arendse says that he'll need much more than just a half an hour tomorrow morning. So because of that, they'll bring Willie Hofmeyr back on Monday, and then tomorrow we'll hear from other prosecutors who are also dealing with the cases, such as the Mdluli case and some of the other high-profile cases. And then Willie Hofmeyr, his cross-examination will continue on Monday, and that's when we'll see attorneys for Lawrence Mrwebi also getting a chance to cross-examine him.
I suppose the standard has been set by the agreed testimony of some 9 days, Govan Whittles, at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry. Govan, thank you so much for that. He's been tracking the inquiry into the fitness or otherwise to hold office of Nomgcobo Jiba.